County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today is Friday, April 22nd. Did you miss me? I was gone for 2 weeks. We had some technical issues last Friday, and I apologize to our guest, Leslie Bryant, but we got it fixed and we're up and running. And before that, I had to go to a funeral the Friday before that. So here we are. I'm back and happy to be here. And today I'm excited to be sitting down with another local veteran here in Cochise County whose name is Oliver White. Oliver?
Ollie's
sir?
Close enough. Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it so much for coming in. I noticed you got your Vietnam veterans hat on, so I'm guessing you served in Vietnam.
I did.
So we'll start out with the same question I like to ask all of our veterans, and that is, what inspired you to join the military?
I was going to get drafted.
You were going to get drafted, huh?
The draft was in full swing when I graduated from high school in 1962. I had no job prospects, and I certainly wasn't going to get in college. So it was either the Army or the Air Force, and I joined the Air Force.
Okay, you didn't want to join the Army, huh?
Well, they were going to.
At that time.
I got my draft notice while I was in basic training. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? You're not the only veteran that I've talked to, though, that's done that. So they figured, well, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go into the branch that I want to go into and
That's
not
right.
have it. Yeah. And when you enlisted, where did you enlist at?
Richmond, Virginia.
In Richmond, Virginia?
I graduated from high school on the 11th of June and went to basic training on the 19th of June.
Where did you live?
Richmond, Virginia.
You lived in Richmond,
Yep.
so that's where you enlisted. And then is that when you were in Richmond, were you there like a long time? Was that
I
like
was born and raised.
born and raised? Okay, good to know. And also, after basic, I've spent 2 weeks. I lost track there. So after you enlisted, you said you went to basic training, and where was your basic training at, sir?
All Air Force basic training at that time was at
Lackland?
Lackland.
Is it still? Are they still doing that? I think they're still doing that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only training base for the Air Force.
San Antonio, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And you went into the Air Force, had basic training at Lackland Air Force Base. And what was next after that? What was your MOS that you enlisted for?
I was an electronic warfare repairman. I went from basic to Keesler for technical electronics training.
And what kind of equipment would you repair?
Electronic countermeasures. We were electronic warfare, basically.
Okay.
And at that time, it was either reconnaissance equipment or jamming equipment. I went to jamming.
Okay.
And eventually they merged them together into one AFSC.
Oh, wow. And what year was this that you had enlisted?
62.
In 1962. So you were at, where was your AIT at?
Keesler.
Keesler Air Force Base?
Yep.
And where's that located?
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Biloxi, Mississippi. Did you like it there?
If the Air Force, if the country was going to give the place an enema, that would be a good place to start.
I always heard that it was a nice area down there.
It wasn't. Hold on a second. Yeah, let me take my hearing aids out so I can hear myself.
Okay.
It was not a good place for airmen.
Oh, okay.
It was a military town, but they didn't treat airmen very well.
Very well there. You know, one of the things I don't like about it, though, is the humidity.
The heat and humidity is vicious.
Yeah, very. So after Biloxi, Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base, where did you go after that?
I went to K.I. Sawyer Air Force Base, Marquette, Michigan, up at the Upper Peninsula.
Wow, I did not know that Michigan had one up there.
They had three
bases?
They had two in the Upper Peninsula and one down in the Lower Peninsula with B-52s. I went to work on B-52Hs.
Wow.
And the B-52, the first flight was in 1953, and the last one came off the assembly line in 1963, the H models. And I worked on the Hs.
Wow. So when you were doing this equipment and stuff, then did you do it all like on the ground? Was there some flying?
Oh yeah, it was all on the ground.
All ground repair?
Yeah.
But you did get to fly in them, though, right? Or
No,
no?
no.
You didn't?
And
Oh, man.
surprisingly enough, I eventually did get my wings, but it was in the Army.
Oh, okay. That'll be an interesting story that we can get to. So after Michigan, where was your next deployment?
From Michigan, I went back to Keesler for additional training,
Okay.
and I was picked up by Air Force Security Service, and I spent the rest of my life in security service, usually at remote sites somewhere along the Russian border.
Okay.
I went to Wakkanai, Japan, first time. That's right across the Soy Strait from Sakhalin Island and the mainland Russia.
Can you share with our audience here? Can you share a little bit about what it was like going to all these different countries? Because that was the first time you were sent to.
That was the first
right?
overseas tour.
Yeah. So
Well, I tell people my first overseas tour was up on the peninsula because everybody up there spoke Finnish.
Uh-huh.
They didn't speak English.
No, huh? Wow.
But then from Wakkanai, I went to Germany.
Okay.
Again to a border site. I was right on the East German-Czech border, a little place called Hof Sali.
Okay.
And I spent 3 years there.
3 years there? And are you married?
I'm married.
Where did you meet your wife at?
My wife and I had known each other since grade school.
Oh, okay. So you guys have a long history together then.
Yep.
How cool. We'll have to talk about that a little bit. So after Germany, where was your next stop?
My next stop was Eglin Air Force Base, Florida.
Okay.
And 6 months later, I was in Vietnam.
Okay. And what year was that?
71, 72. 50
Okay.
50 years this year.
Wow. And I'm so glad that we have that date to honor our veterans that served in Vietnam. Again, I know I say this every time. I'm sorry, but it's true. They got such a crappy reception when they came home.
We did, but I can tell you right now, we got a better reception than the guys that went to Korea.
Yeah.
They were treated worse than we were.
Wow.
And it's sad because we had nothing to do with the government policy. Nope. We just went where we were told.
Yeah, you do what you're told. You say, hey, president says, okay, this is where you're going. That's where you're going.
That's where you're going.
Yeah. Commander in chief.
It was kind of weird when I left Germany and I went to Eglin. About 3 months after I was there, I realized there were only two kinds of people in my shop. Guys that had just come back from Southeast Asia or guys that were going to Southeast Asia. So I just went over and volunteered. I said, heck, if I got to go, I'm going to go where I want to go.
How many tours did you have in Vietnam?
I had one. I was getting ready for my second when the war ended.
Okay. And how long was your first tour over there?
A year.
A year?
Yeah.
And you were doing
about a month shy of a year. Yeah.
And were you doing the jamming, the equipment?
Nope. I was
at that
teaching.
Time, or?
I went over and I taught electronics to the Vietnamese.
Okay. I want to be careful. I don't want to ask you something where you might have to say you'll have to kill me later because some of that stuff is top secret or something. So
I was supposed to go over on flying status.
Okay.
It was a reconnaissance unit, and my last week of school. The chief instructor came in, dragged me over to his office, pulled a message out of his safe, and it said, basically, the guy that it was supposed to be an instructor had gone home and wrecked himself up in a car.
Oh my!
And they needed a new instructor, and I was it, whether I liked it or not.
And while in Vietnam, did you meet a lot of good guys and made a lot of good friendships and stuff while you were there?
Basically, it was the guys I worked with. I did feel sorry for the students we had.
Okay.
When we were drafted or sent over there, we were going to be there a year, and we were going to either come home one way or the other.
Right.
These kids, when they were drafted, it was for the duration of the war. They had no options. They were going to be there till the war ended one way or another.
Wow. So what year was it again that you went to Vietnam and then came back?
71. I got there in December of
71.
1971.
Okay. And you left in 72?
Yep.
Obviously, because
About a month shy of a year.
And so when you're leaving Vietnam, how many years did you have in service at that time?
When I went, I was an old man when I went to Vietnam. I was already 28 years old and I'd been in service since 1962. So
Okay.
I wasn't a newbie. And
what was your rank at that time?
I was an E5.
E5? Okay.
I made E6 shortly after I got back to the States.
Okay. So you come back to the States. Where did you come back to?
I went to Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas.
Okay.
Another security service assignment.
Okay.
Went through school, and I wanted to go back to Germany.
Okay.
And the Air Force decided they were going to send me to Okinawa.
Wow.
And I said, I looked around and I decided that was not where I wanted to go because I had already been separated from my family for almost a year and a half, almost 2 years.
That's a long time.
And I said, nope. I said, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to re-enlist. And I said, I don't have enough time for a tour. And the guy said, you wouldn't do that? I said, push my luck and I will.
Right.
So I said, you've already made me an instructor. When I didn't want to be an instructor, I'm instructor qualified. I'm the undergraduate in this class. Either keep me here as an instructor or send me to the maintenance. They sent me to the maintenance shop. And I was biding my time till I could go back to Germany. But then the war ended and we had a glut of guys in my MOS because we were an overseas imbalanced career field. We had more of us overseas than we did stateside. And I ended up at Goodfellow for 5 years.
Wow. So how many years did you have in at that time? Enough to retire, or
no, not quite.
No.
And then I started trying to go somewhere else.
Okay.
I even wanted to go. I really wanted to go back to B-52s because I really enjoyed that. But
right.
I ended up getting a special duty assignment to embassy duty. I went to Belgrade, Yugoslavia.
Oh, wow.
In the meantime, I was very discouraged with promotions in the Air Force, and I applied for a warrant in the Army.
Right.
I went to Belgrade. I came out on the E7 list, and the Army came looking for me and offered me a warrant. So then I had to choose between the Army and the Air Force, and I took the warrant officer position and transferred to the Army.
And what year was that?
1981.
Okay.
So, 79.
So DJ asked a very interesting question. If you are discharged or reinstated, do you lose your rank or pay?
You do not lose anything except your, well, you don't lose anything. You just transfer over.
Okay.
I didn't make any money when I transferred, but I didn't lose any money.
Okay.
I became a warrant officer in the Army.
Because when we're doing our live stream here, we'll get a lot of comments right here that I'll be reading. Yeah. And then when I get them, I like to put them up here on the screen. So that way they can, we can interact with them a little bit. So that's why we look forward like that. So thank you for that question there, DJ. That's a very good question. And if anybody else is watching, have any other questions, by all means, put it in the comment section and we will be happy to answer them for you. So you get out of the Air Force, you join the Army as a warrant. Did you have to go to any kind of schooling or anything?
Nope, it was a direct duty assignment.
And what was your rank? Were you a warrant officer 1 at that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where was your first assignment?
Fort Bliss, Texas.
Fort Bliss.
Yep.
That's where I had basic training. It's 77.
And
Air Defense Artillery.
I got tankers and air defense, and we were an MI unit.
Wow.
I was in the process of transitioning us from the U-21s to the Mohawks.
Okay.
And one day they had a big warrant officer conference at Bliss. And these guys convinced me I ought to go over there. And like a dumb guy, I asked a question. I shouldn't have done that. I got up and introduced myself, and I was going to ask my program manager how long I could be expected to be there at Bliss.
Right.
And the guy said, well, what MOFs are you? And I said, I'm a 285 Alpha, electronic warfare repairman. And the guys looked around and he says, well, we don't seem to have anybody with your MOS
with that skill
program
set
here.
Yeah.
But give me your question, and when we get back to DC, we'll get it taken care of. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call and wanted to know what the hell I was doing there. I said, excuse me? He said, you're not authorized. I said, what do you mean I'm not authorized? And he said, you're not on the MTO anymore.
Okay.
So I immediately went over and talked to the company commander. I said, Major Thomas, and he turned up. He was Major General. He was a Major General here when I got here.
Uh-huh.
And he'd been my first company commander. And I told him, I said, according to the MTO, I'm not authorized. And so we went over to the personnel center. We looked up, sure enough, my MOS had been dropped.
Oh my goodness.
And
so you didn't even get notified, huh?
So when they made up the new MTO for the Mohawks, they left the electronic warfare guys off.
Okay.
And so we flew down to Fort Hood. And by the way, I was on flight status in the Army.
Okay.
Something I had never been able to do in the Air Force.
In the Air Force.
I got my wings in the Army.
Isn't that weird? That's just so
weird. Yeah, that is weird. But we went down and we talked to the brigade commander and the battalion commander, and they assured everybody that it was going to get taken care of. And on the way back to Bliss, I told him, I said, you guys may get that fixed, but I'm out of here. I said, I may be new to the Army, but I am not new to the military system.
Right.
I said, when my name popped up, it went right in the hopper. And 6 months later, I was on my way to Turkey.
Turkey?
Yep.
Woo!
I'd avoided Turkey the whole time I was in the Air Force, but the Army got me to Turkey.
And how long were you there for?
For another year.
For another year? So that's another year away from your family, sadly. But so now, after Turkey, where did you go?
I went to get my next assignment, I wanted to go to Germany. I still wanted to go to Germany.
But did you wanted a company assignment, though, right?
Course,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were going to send me to a tactical unit in Germany. And I said, that's fine, but I've never seen a piece of tactical electronic warfare equipment in my life. And I said, now I'm a senior W-2. I'm expected to know that stuff.
Right.
I said, if you're going to send me to a tactical unit, let me at least go through Devons for a week or so to familiar myself, so I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Somebody, and my program manager and I got into a pissing contest, and I said, screw this. I've got over 20 years service. I don't have to put up with it. I regretted saying that later.
Right.
But so then they were going to send me to Devons as an instructor. I said, how are you going to do that? I've never seen the equipment. So I ended up, while I was in Turkey, the commander at Ben Hill Farms, the depot for all SIG and EW, had come over there on a visit, and I'd been his gopher. And he said, if you ever need a favor, he said, you come see me. So while I was home on leave, I went and talked to him, and sure enough, man, I got reassigned to Ben Hill Farms.
And where is that?
It used to be in Warrington, Virginia.
Okay, that's close to home.
It was the depot for all the SIG and EW equipment in the Army, and I ended up being the new equipment training officer for all Army signal intelligence equipment.
So you got to train people on equipment that you didn't know.
Well,
you learned it.
I sent my team to the company to learn the system so we could go out and teach the system to the new when it was fielded.
So, how many total years did you have in service?
A little over 20.
A little over 20?
Yeah.
And between your Air Force experiences and your Army experiences, what was your favorite duty station of all of the places you went to?
Yugoslavia, obviously.
Yugoslavia?
Embassy duty was my best Air Force assignment ever.
How long did you do that for?
Only about 8 months.
8 months.
Because then I got when I took the warrant, I had to leave the country.
Okay.
I was no longer authorized.
And I'm guessing you didn't have your dependents there either, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you did have them?
Yeah, I had my
Oh,
family
wow. Because usually for such a short tour, they don't allow dependents.
It was a 2-year tour.
Okay.
And I had my family with me.
Okay. So, where were you stationed at when you retired?
When I retired, I was at Daniel Farms.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, and then I went back to work for the Army for another 22 years as a civilian.
As a civilian, Department of Army civilian.
That's how I got here.
Okay. I was kind of leading up to how you ended up down here in Fort Huachuca.
Well, I went to work at Fort Lee, Virginia.
Okay.
I had an MI background and a signal intelligence equipment background at a quartermaster center.
Right.
There is no chance of a promotion.
Well, and then there's not those positions as a Department of Army civilian either, is there?
Well, if I had no quartermaster background at a quartermaster center.
Right.
The guys that got promoted had quartermaster backgrounds.
Okay.
And so after I watched my job get eliminated about 3 times, I got picked up by another directorate. But I said, I better look for something else. And the folks here at Fort Huachuca offered me a position with a promotion if I'd come out here.
And what were you doing?
Here I came out here to be maintenance chief at Army Signal Command.
For the Signal Command?
Yeah.
Okay. And what year was that you came out here?
It was 92.
92. So you've been here for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you like it here because you stayed, right?
My original plan was to be here about 3 years and then go back to the East Coast, and I've been here ever since. You can't beat the weather.
It's the weather, huh?
You don't have any tornadoes. You don't have any hurricanes.
Nope.
You don't have any snow to amount to anything.
No earthquakes. Well,
no earthquakes yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we liked it here.
Yeah, we had a few tremors, they say, but I as far as actual earthquakes, I don't know of any. And we don't get we do get snow, but my golly, when we get snow,
you go outside, you look up on a mountain, you say, "Yep, snowed last night."
Yeah, or if it's on the ground at our house, we're lucky if it stays a whole day.
It's gone by noon.
Yeah. Sometimes we get a good snow. Like I remember in '82 or '83, we got a pretty good snowstorm that lasted a few days. Yeah.
It was funny. My son was in the Marine Corps at that time.
Okay.
And he'd been tasked to fly the border. And they were flying over here, and his co-pilot was looking down. He says, "That is the most desolate-looking place in the world." He said, "Who in the hell would live there?" My son, my parents.
Yeah, my dad, mama. That was gonna be my next question. Is you said that you met your wife when you were in grade school, and you got married. So she was Air Force and Army wife.
Yep.
And how many kids did you have?
2.
2 kids. And if you want to give your wife and kids a shout out, this is a great time right here. What are their names?
My wife's name is Linda.
Linda.
And my son's name is Kevin, and my daughter's name is Tammy.
Tammy. Okay.
And my son recently retired from the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel.
Kevin, if you watch this, thank you so much for your service, sir.
And he started out in the Navy as a corpsman.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to fly, and the Navy said they couldn't guarantee him flight school, so he gave up the scholarship, went in the Marine Corps so he could fly.
Okay.
Helicopters. He wanted to fly fixed wing, so he transferred to the Air Force and retired out of the Air Force, and he's teaching ROTC now.
Wow, he served in 3 branches,
Yep,
huh?
he beat me. I
Wow.
only served in 2. He served in 3.
Well, it's not too late if you want to re-enlist in the
No, I'm a
Navy or
little
the
old.
Coast Guard or
I'm a little
something.
old for that now.
Oh, okay. So you have a wife, 2 kids. How long have you been married?
Uh, 58 years this year.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it when I'm at church and the father will come out and ask the question, "Who's celebrating wedding anniversaries?" and people will say 25, 30, 30. I love hearing those high numbers when marriages, because it's not easy when you're married for a long period of
It's
time.
not easy if you're in the military.
Right.
It's not. I mean, not easy anywhere. But and it. Here's a side story. My my future wife and I started out on the same side of town in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
We would have started kindergarten at the same school, except I had a grade school within sight of my house, but the dividing line for the 2 schools was right in front of the school.
Oh
And
wow.
my mother went to the school board and complained because we would have had to go 8 blocks in one direction, but we only had to go to 2 blocks in the other direction to go to
Right.
school.
Right.
And she got the school board to change their policy, and then kids within sight of the school could go to that other school. Otherwise, we would have started school together. Both families eventually moved to the north side of Richmond. Then we started in the same grade school together, went to high
Uh-huh.
school together.
And were you dating at that time too, or
We
you
did
just knew
not,
each
we
other?
did not, we did not start, we knew each other, but we did
Okay.
not start dating until her junior year, my senior year in high school. But on her 16th birthday, she was better friends with some other guys in the neighborhood than me. I mean, I was just a face in the crowd.
Right.
And they got invited to her 16th birthday party.
Okay.
And she said, well, just bring out, mostly it was girls there. So she told them to bring any guys that they could round up. And I got roped into going. And on the way over there, we found a huge box and they decided to one of us would get in the box and be a birthday present. And I lost the draw, and I was the one. So I
Wow.
was her 16th birthday party present.
Isn't that amazing? I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. That's so cool. And the reason I say that is it's, I don't know, destiny is the right word, but it's kind of cool to see how everything just comes together,
Yeah,
you know?
it is. It's really weird. I mean, uh,
And then, you have kids that have kids?
my
Grand
son had 3 children. My daughter has no children.
Okay, but so you know what it's like to be a grandfather then. And so you get to see some of your family traditions and some of your heritage and stuff like that passed on to them.
Uh, I would have rather been a better grandfather, but my son was in the service,
Uh-huh.
and I was working for the Army, and we were always
Miles
half
apart.
a half a continent apart.
Uh-huh.
I was stateside when he was overseas, or he went to Hawaii first.
Right.
We were here. The only time we were ever close when he was in California and we were in Arizona. Otherwise, we were never ever close to each other.
I think that family is so important though, and especially in the military, because I think that that gives you something to look forward to after you've been deployed. Oh, I get to go home and see my wife. Oh, I get to go home and see my kids or my parents if they're not married. And I think that hope helps that veteran get back home.
My son had talking about P,
PTSD.
PTSD.
Uh huh.
My son has it. He won't admit it, but
Right.
he had 3 tours in Iraq and 3 tours in Afghanistan.
Oh wow,
As
6
a
total
pilot.
tours over there. Wow.
Hopefully he's getting better, but sometimes
Well, you never know what's gonna trigger
that's right.
that, and how do you react to that,
Uh,
and because you're not trained, And I think that with you being in Vietnam, when we talked about it a little bit, you said that you felt that you didn't, but I feel that sometimes,
Well, when I was at Tan Son Nhut, which is Saigon,
right?
and we got rocketed once while I
Uh-huh.
was there. Knew knew it was serious when they actually issued me a weapon with ammunition. I knew there was a problem because
Right.
we normally didn't get ammunition.
Didn't get ammo, huh?
They were scared us Air Force guys would hurt ourselves. But when they gave me real bullets, I knew it was serious. Uh, Later, when I came back to the States now, I would never have pictured myself as somebody that would have PTSD.
Right.
But we went to a fireworks display up on the Potomac River, and they were firing the fireworks from down on the beach,
Okay.
and they were exploding right
In face.
at eye level.
Okay.
And after about 10 minutes, I had to get out of there.
Because of what you had experienced in the
Yep.
military, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never would have considered myself as somebody that would have had that, but it scared the heck out of me. It just
And sometimes, I mean, how do you know?
you don't,
Like in your son's case, when you said that he doesn't admit it or won't admit
and
it
you
or can't
can't,
see it. If you can't see it, you don't know you have a
and you can't
problem.
help somebody until they
Right.
admit that they need help. Uh, I'll tell you something, and I have a passion about this because I volunteer out the VA cemetery.
Okay.
A cemetery volunteer attends every veteran's funeral.
Okay.
We do that to make sure no veteran ever gets buried alone.
Okay.
There's somebody there to represent the country and the military to salute, give him his last salute. And I used to be surprised at how many times I was the only person at the guy's funeral.
Oh, wow.
And then I realized the Korean War vets and the the Korean War and World War II veterans, most of them have outlived their relative, or their relatives are
Right.
as old as they are and can't get to their funeral.
And I love how I don't know if you do Facebook or not, but I do Facebook.
I don't do Facebook.
And I'll be reading a lot of things about how these motorcycle groups out of
They are
Tombstone,
great.
Tucson, Sierra Vista will come in and they will pay
They-
honor to
They are great.
to the veteran.
My father-in-law just passed away about 3 weeks ago. He was 99. He was a World War II vet.
Uh-huh.
If my wife and I were not here, his relatives could never come out here to his funeral.
Right.
I mean, we're going to take half his ashes back to be buried with his wife, and half of them will stay here and be buried out at the VA cemetery.
Okay.
But there's another example. And every time I do a service out there, I see more and more names on the wall of
Yes.
Vietnam veterans.
Yes.
We are fast reaching that point, and I urge and that's why I'm going to be a speaker.
It's right here.
Because I want everybody to sit
Look
down.
at that camera right there and tell them so they understand.
Because I
what you're
want
saying.
every Vietnam veteran to sit down and write down his stories. Everybody's got stories.
Right.
Write them down while you still got a memory.
Right.
Two of my best friends were both Vietnam veterans. One of my friends is honored out here as being in the MI Hall of Fame because he and his group discovered the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Oh, wow.
And I used to talk to him about writing his stuff down before he ended up dying of COVID. He didn't put anything down on paper. Another friend, all of a sudden he developed Alzheimer's. Now he can't write his stories down because he doesn't remember anymore.
You know, Ollie, I can't agree with you anymore. I just totally understand what you're saying because working in the DAV as a chapter service officer, I'll get a dependent that will come in and they don't know anything about their husband's service.
And
you know, what they did or to tell that story, to do the obituary or anything.
Both my father-in-law and my dad were in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and my father-in-law never wanted to talk about their service.
Right.
I did manage to sit down with my father-in-law and interrogate him and find out and write his stories down
Good.
before he passed.
Good.
My dad's, I had to do it from memory, from what I remembered, and from researching.
So you have a lot of military history in your family then.
Yeah, I guess my son will be the last.
Because you have your dad.
My dad was in the Navy, and was a CB.
Okay.
In the South Pacific. My father-in-law was in Europe. He was in the Army.
Uh-huh.
He was in a heavy mortar unit. They were an independent unit that went. They were like a hotshot crew. They went wherever army or a division needed help. That's where they went. He served. They supported every army and almost every division in Europe during their time there, including Patton's Third Army.
Did you have any grandparents or aunts or uncles or any history like that?
I had an uncle that was in World War II also.
Okay.
He passed away. I never knew him very well because he passed away right after he got back from the war. He had a heart attack and died.
Sadly, there are not very many World War II veterans left.
No. Then there are not a whole lot of Korean War veterans left.
Right. And I think that we kind of overlooked the Korean War. I think that the World War II gets a lot of talk about, and Vietnam does, and Afghanistan. Well, you don't hear people talking about the Korean War. You're right about that.
A lot of the guys that came out of World War II, came in right at the end.
Right.
Went into the reserves so they could get back to civilian life quick. They got called up during the Korean War. Uh-huh. Most of the guys that served in the Korean War were reservists. And that was, here the guy got his civilian life and all of a sudden he's sent to Korea because he was a reservist.
Wow, yeah. But you're right, you don't hear a lot about the Korean War, and the fact that you said that do you volunteer or do you actually work at the Southern Arizona VA Cemetery?
I'm a volunteer.
You're a volunteer there. Well, thank you for doing that, first off.
And
that can't be an easy job.
We need volunteers, guys. I'm willing to train you if you want to do it because we need help. We're getting old too.
So if you're a veteran or a non-veteran, really
anybody can.
Right? Can you give us a little bit of information about to our audience that may want information on how to do this?
We are sponsored by the Daughters of the American Revolution out of Tombstone, the DAR.
Okay.
Sponsors. Like I said, every funeral that when a veteran passes, one of us is at that funeral.
Okay.
If there's family and friends, or at least family, we present them a card and their condolences for their loss. If there is no family, then we stand in as the family and as the representative from the public to give him his last salute for his service to his country.
My mother-in-law passed away a month ago, and she's buried up there at the cemetery, and the columbariums that they have up there are just beautiful. I mean, and you can go up there and pay respect to your loved ones, and it's very peaceful, serene, quiet, and yeah.
When I started doing this,
uh-huh.
the original columbarium was only 3/4 full. The second, now that we got the second one, and it's almost full. So that'll give you some idea of how fast we're
losing our
passing
veterans.
Away. I mean, it's.
And one thing that's near and dear to my heart. Now, I only served 3 years, but I'm very proud of my military service and the fact that I wish it had worked out where I could have served more, but it just didn't work out for me. But I wanted to kind of give back to other veterans. And the 22 a day suicide prevention is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I don't want to be losing any more of our veterans. We're losing 22 veterans a day, and that's just not right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. 22 veterans a day in the United States commit suicide. and that's why there's this program that they have. It's called 22 a day.
Is that okay? I saw that sign out there.
Yes,
I didn't know. I was going to ask you about
right.
what the 22 stood. I didn't know that. Okay.
But what the Warrior Healing Center does is they are sponsoring where if you donate $22 a month or more, that helps, because what they do is then they take that and then they help these veterans that need this help. So all of the money that is given is spent right here locally in Cochise County to help our veterans.
Let me add one more thing. If you're a veteran and you have not registered with the VA for your medical benefits and stuff like that, do it before you need them.
Yes.
Don't wait until you need help, because the system is very, very slow.
Yeah.
If you wait till you need it, you probably won't get it when you need it immediately, because the system does not work very fast. It's just a ponderous, well, just like every government program. It
Right.
takes a while to get kick into act. My father-in-law got great care from the VA.
Well, and the thing is that some of veterans that serve over there in foreign areas may not get sick, or maybe they don't think that they have a disability, and they're not registered for the VA healthcare system. And then all of a sudden, let's say a Vietnam veteran comes in, oh, I have bladder cancer related to Agent Orange. I need to get that treated. Well, who's going to treat it? You got to get it done through the VA healthcare system.
I felt that way when I got out.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing was about the only thing that I had that was deteriorated.
Okay.
In the last year, I've fallen apart. I had a heart attack in September.
Wow.
I had open heart surgery in November, and I didn't have a heart. Believe it or not. They were going to do it robotically, and they got in and found out my heart was covered with scar tissue.
Oh, my.
And I was in surgery for 9.5 hours. They spent 2.5 hours peeling scar tissue off my heart. It wouldn't show up on any CAT scan or anything like that. The only way they saw it is because
they went in?
They went inside, and all of a sudden, and so now I'm in the process of trying to get my disability changed. And it's a long process.
What's your percentage right now?
40.
You're at 40%? Because if you get 50% or more, you get to draw both VA and retirement separately, which is why they pick 50%. I don't know, but it should just be concurrent, no matter what you're.
I combined my civil service and my military time because I got a better deal by doing it that way. I mean, I draw civil service because I was a higher rank than I was in the military, so.
Wow. Okay.
So I get 40 years as a GS-13 rather than 20 and 20.
Oh, so you don't get military retirement?
I don't get my military.
Oh, okay.
I just get my civil service.
Okay. Do they have any dependent care, like for example, the VA has, like, if you're 100% VA and you passed, and they have a program where the spouse could qualify for DIC, so they get an income.
Well, my wife could probably qualify for that.
I didn't know.
But I also elected in my civil service. So she will, if I pass, she gets 50% or so of what I get.
Okay, because I think it's important because a lot of times spouses don't know a lot about the VA healthcare system or retirement or any of that stuff.
My wife and I are helping a lot of people at our church that know nothing about the system because their spouse served, but he never talked about it. They didn't even know what a DD-214 was,
or where it was held at, or where it was at, how to find it. Yeah. And it's important. You need that, especially if you're trying to get any benefits or burial benefits.
Yep. You need it.
And I also, since you work at the VA cemetery as a volunteer, there's also a VA form that you can fill out to let the cemetery know that when you pass, so that way
I
your
just
wife or
we just did
husband,
that.
spouse, yeah.
We just did that when we were doing the paperwork for my father-in-law.
Uh-huh.
We did the same thing for ourselves.
Yes.
Uh,
So it's kind of like you can reserve a spot,
you can reserve it,
basically.
but you don't get a specific spot. You
No,
just get a spot.
right. And Wendy is who we dealt with up
Yep.
there when my mother-in-law passed, and
Yep.
she's just phenomenal.
Uh,
So
I've dealt with 3 of the people that do the law. Well, that had Wendy's job before Wendy.
right.
And
And again, like I said, they just do a phenomenal job up there. They really do.
they have one of the best cemeteries anywhere in the country.
Hmm. So, what are some of the community activities that you're involved in? Or like, I know
Well,
you said you volunteer.
the VA cemetery and church. About the
Which church do you go to?
service, the UCC, United Church of Christ, the church right behind Target.
Okay.
And we just got a new minister,
All right.
Ken Robinson. He came from North Carolina, and he's doing a super job.
So, if you're also looking for a church, then
That's
go check them out.
check us out. We think that it's going to draw in young people.
Yeah.
It was getting like we were getting old.
Yes. And it's funny that you say that because I volunteer with like 3 or 4 different organizations because I wanted to spread I didn't want 100% going into one. I wanted like 25% everywhere. But anyhow, it's like you get into these organizations, and who's the ones that are stepping up and doing all of this work? It's people that are in their 70s, and they've been doing it, and they're tired, and they need younger people to come in and step in and help out.
What I used to do, I used to volunteer for the Cochise County Cowboy Poetry and Music Gathering.
Oh yeah.
And I was very active in that. I was sponsorship chairman for many years. I couldn't do it this year because of the heart attack, and sadly, this is our last. This last one was probably the last. And again, it was because we couldn't get any new young people to volunteer,
To help out.
and we couldn't get sponsors, we couldn't get volunteers, and it passed on. And I'm really sorry about that because I thought it was great.
Well, all I can ask if you're watching this is I can only tell you what my experience was. I was just sitting at home and not doing anything when I decided I needed to get off of my lazy butt and get involved. And I'm so glad I did because by being active and getting out of the house and volunteering, it makes a huge difference spiritually and physically. It really does.
Yep.
So I really encourage anybody that's watching this, if you're sitting at home and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go out, I don't want to do this, or, find your experiment with these different groups, volunteer maybe an hour a week or whatever, just try it out and see. And then once you find something that grabs your heart, you're going to be amazed at the change it will have in your life because it's huge. It really is. So, do you have any last things that you'd like to share?
I would like everybody, if you know a Vietnam veteran, please tell him that we have a Vietnam Veterans Association here in Sierra Vista, and we're looking for veterans. We would like you to join us. We do not have as good a representation as I think we should have. I know there are a whole lot more Vietnam veterans in this city that just come to our meetings. And we would love to have you. It's the second Saturday of every month. And we meet at the Elks Club.
At the Elks?
Yep.
Thank you, Eric, for that. We are proud of our Vietnam veterans. Very proud of them.
And
they have a lot of stuff that goes on here at the Warrior Healing Center for our Vietnam veterans, too. A lot of support groups and stuff that
we would love to have you come there and share your experiences with us.
Yes.
And please write your experiences down while you have the opportunity to do it and still have a memory. I did mine, started in 2006.
Right.
if I had started them today, I would not remember half of the stuff that I remembered 10 years ago.
You know, Ollie, one thing I like about doing this show is that it gives a veteran a voice. And then after we're done, this interview stays online on Facebook. So any of your family that have Facebook, if they go to the Warrior Healing Center and go to videos, they will find our interview. And not only that, it's also up on YouTube.
Well,
So if you have YouTube or you watch YouTube, you can watch the interview on that as well. So if you're a veteran and you'd like to come in and share your story, I'd love to sit down and talk with you and get to know you. And so let Cochise County know a little bit about you. So I encourage that very much. I would love that. So Ollie, thank you so much for
all
joining
right.
me, sir. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Appreciate it.
If
Appreciate
you
you
could-
having me.
If you could hang out with me here a couple minutes, I got a couple events I want to read real quick,
Okay.
and then we'll finish her up. So it's the events that we have going on here at the Warrior Healing Center daily. We have Arizona at Work. We have two guys that work here, Kevin and Jerry, and they're great guys. They're phenomenal. They help veterans in finding a job. They are here at the Warrior Healing Center by appointment. You can also come in at 0900 to 1500 hours. And again, that's Arizona at Work, and that's here at the Warrior Healing Center, because I know they have an office over at the Nurses College too. But Kevin and Jerry work out here, and again, they do a phenomenal job. Friday, April 22nd, which is today, and it's probably already started, or getting ready to start. There's a Vietnam Veteran Recovery and Support Group, and it's a great group. It's run by a gentleman that comes down on Fridays and interviews or talks with the Vietnam veterans, and it's a good thing. And I encourage it. If you're a Vietnam veteran and you have not been in any kind of groups or anything, I would encourage you to do that. If you would like more information, just come in here to the Warrior Healing Center. Again, the group meets at 10 o'clock to 11:30 here at the Warrior Healing Center conference room. On Saturday at 0900, the Bello Vets Sierra Vista group ride takes place. It starts at Pueblo del Sol Country Club. That's run by Stu Carter, another veteran that does a lot for our community. Great guy who eventually I'm going to get on here to interview, because Bello Vets is another great organization here. Also on Saturday, starting at 1300 hours, we have the Clug monthly meeting, and that's going to be at 143 Street Tacos. And again, that starts at 1300 hours. Sunday, starting at 1600 hours, at the American Legion Post 52, they're having their meat raffle. So if you want a good hunk of meat, go down there and check it out. Buy the raffle ticket, and hopefully you'll win something. Because I know right now, bacon, man, if they had bacon down there, bacon's like crazy. It used to be like $1.99 a pound. Now it's like $9 or something a pound.
Yeah, I went to Costco yesterday, and the pack, 3-pack, $21.
It's crazy. On Wednesday, April 27th at 10:30 to 11:30 is Finding the Way. It's a Warrior Healing Center. It's a Bible study group that meets here. So if you're interested or you want to join a Bible study group, come on in here next Wednesday starting at 10:30. And we have on Friday, April 29th, starting at 0900, we have the Us Too prostate cancer survivors group that meets here at the Warrior Healing Center in the main conference room. So if you want to get some information on that, just come on down here. Again, that's the Us Too prostate cancer survivors. That's a support group. And last, on Sunday, May 1st, starting at 1200 hours and going to 1400 hours, is the Warrior Healing Center dust off. They're having a dust off, and if I get more information on that next week, I'll pass it on to you. So again, Ollie, sir, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Everybody have a great day, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, thank you, sir.